I'm Carrie.
I'm Toni, and we are.
Two Cranky Creatives.
Thank you for listening. And remember, if you're impatient, allergic to ads, or just want to support our cranky little corner of the podcast world, join the Cranky Club. Subscribers get ad-free episodes and early access. Yep, a whole week early. Hit subscribe and join the club.
All right, I think we're recording.
Okay.
And I have some wine because I have had a stressful day. So
yeah, and mine's ginger turmeric tea because I low-key want to lose my lunch all day long. So it's all good though. We'll make it work. So, But I have a question for you. Are you a planner girl? Do you use a planner?
What do you mean by a planner? Like a piece of paper?
Like a paper planner, yeah. Or do you do any form of planning, or have you gone to digital?
I'm all digital.
You're all digital?
I do Google Keep.
Oh, really?
Well, so Google owns my soul. I've given up. I give up. By the way, okay, so you sent something out in Graphics Gang recently about how to turn off your assistant in your email. I did. I had it on. And it was helping me write emails, and it was making my emails more succinct, and it was summarizing them for me. And then I was like, God, Tony's probably right. I should turn off the AI assistant in my Gmail because I guess I don't want it reading my emails. And then when I turned it off, I really missed it. And I'm like, I don't care. Like I have I don't want to say the G word because if I do, it'll wake up and start talking to me. But I have one of those watches, and I have a phone, and I have a speaker, and you know what? I give up. They know everything about me, and I turned it back on. But I use Google Keep. One of the reasons is because we have a grocery list, me and my boyfriend. And so when I go to the grocery store, I'll text him and be like, please update the grocery list. And so he can do it live while I'm at the grocery store. And then I can sit there and check stuff off to make sure that I get what he needs. I haven't used a paper planner in probably 15 years. Yeah.
So the funny thing is I went all digital, right? And then in the last year, I have felt so disconnected from everything. Like it was becoming psychologically painful, right? And so I have a good friend, and we were at dinner, and I was talking about this with them. And they tell me about the Hobonichi planner. So it's Japanese stationery, right? And so I'm going to try and show it to you. So it's literally a paper planner. And I have been doing a daily doodle thing in it.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. And so, but I can actually remember my fucking schedule again. And
having it all in front of you like that. Well, you do bookbinding.
Yes.
So you're a very tactile with paper person.
Very true.
Very true. So are you a person that if you have a book you want to read, you're going to buy the physical copy of the book, especially as a writer? I would imagine you do, right?
So that's a yes and a no. So all of my books about trauma research or creativity, I buy the physical book, but the smut that I read, I get on Kindle. So
nice. That's the stuff you want to hide. You want to read on the train and nobody knows what you're reading.
Right. And I saw my content library the other day, and it was 157 books. So that's 157 pieces of smut that I am carrying around on a Kindle, but we're going to leave that there.
Oh my God. That's awesome. No, I mean, it's probably easier to hide. Yeah. I actually do appreciate a good physical book, but and I will buy an art book. Obviously, I will always buy a physical version of it. But I have my boyfriend's old Kindle, and I just because I'm too cheap to buy one, and I'm like, I don't need one. But I've been reading a lot of Anne Rule. You probably know who she is.
I do.
I read The Stranger Beside Me. Yep. Because of my favorite podcast and My Favorite Murder, and they told me about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm reading all of her books.
Yeah.
But I feel weird on the plane. We were going to Scotland in September, and I'm reading what is it, Small Sacrifices?
Don't bring her up. She has trauma. She has trauma all day long.
Yeah, she's horrible. But I was reading
listened to Hungry Like the Wolf for decades.
Oh, really?
Yeah. because of that
It's
book.
creepy. That whole, I cannot get enough of her. I've been watching interviews with her on YouTube and stuff because she's so crazy and scary. But I'm reading that book on the plane and I'm like, I don't want people to know that I'm reading this book or the book about Ted Bundy because people are going to think I'm crazy and I'm not. But it's nice on the Kindle because you can just kind of be on the DL about what you're reading.
Very true. I'll say one more thing and then we should get into the show. But I started reading true crime at the age of 11 with Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi. So definitely know all of those. So
I was 13 and it was the exact same book. It was the exact same book.
This is
that was the only real true crime book out, I think, when it was really easily accessible when we were that age.
Very true. Yeah. All right, we should get into the show. So I think it's your turn.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to say? Okay, I'll just ask you then. Okay, so what are we cranky about today, Carrie?
Toni, today we are cranky about the fact that we have to remember that you are a business. Even when you're an artist, you are a business. And all the things that come with that are enough to make anyone cranky because the business part ain't fun.
No, it's not. It's really fucking horrible a lot of the time. And this is a huge pet peeve of mine with that, little bit of whatever, I don't know if it's buzzword or advice or I don't even know what to call it, but that whole like, do what you love and then you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how this fucking works. Right.
Yeah.
Because I would venture to generalize and say, if you're in this business, if you're doing surface design, you're doing art, you probably love it or enjoy it or started because it was something you really enjoyed. But the business part of it, 100% is not, I don't love it. I would love to have somebody else do all of it.
Me too.
But, you are a business. And that is something that I think gets overlooked or people don't anticipate it. And then they, I don't know, don't plan accordingly or whatever. And so I'm glad we're talking about this. I think I mentioned it once before. I have a good friend who teaches entrepreneurship in the arts at our local university.
Yeah.
And I sat in on one of her workshops. We were at the same conference teaching and we kind of like supported each other by going to each other's sessions. And she opened up her session by going, how many people here in the audience are artists? And, like everybody in the room raised their hand, minus maybe 2 people. And she was like, congratulations, you're an entrepreneur, because people don't think like that when it comes to this. But 100%, if you're an artist and you want to sell anything, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You're a business person. You're a business owner. If it were the 80s, we would say you're an executive. I mean, that's what that means. But
that's true.
I have to throw in here. So as somebody who went to graphic design school, where they teach you all kinds of things about how to look at your art critically, they teach you even like what it's like to work in a studio. In fact, when I went back to school for graphic design, even though I'd already been working professionally, they still made me do an internship in graphic design. And I'm really glad they did because that's how I got started in the film industry. But they did not teach even graphic designers about the stuff that you need to know about being an entrepreneur, about being a business owner. They taught you what it's like to work in a studio for someone else, kind of, but they left out all of that really important stuff about marketing and, just all of the, accounting and proposals and all of the things that come with running a business as an artist. Right. And this is a degree program in a very, long-standing field, graphic design. That is a very businessy type. It's not painting. It's not, printmaking. So yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't teach that even there. It's always overlooked.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and it's funny because my undergrad and my grad are in business, right? So my undergrad was in applied business management. I forget what the exact was, but and I had a minor in e-commerce,
Mhm.
and then I got my master's, my MBA. And the thing that I think is kind of interesting in both of those is that I wasn't taught how to be an entrepreneur. I was taught how to run business units, right?
So what does that
So
mean?
so, like, for instance, when I worked in the diamond industry, I ran a business unit called the insurance replacement division, right? So I was
Okay.
my own division within this diamond importer. And so I operated to a profit and a loss. I had to report, you know, I had to do all the numbers and all that other stuff. And I had a goal, an income goal and all that, your a revenue goal, I should say. And but so I was a business unit within a larger business because he had retail sales, he had other sales, you know, the owner of the business. But I
Yeah.
was a business unit. So I didn't have to worry about his accounting other than how much revenue did I bring in, you know, how many sales did we make, that kind of thing. Like I didn't even have to keep track of cost of goods sold. He did all of that, right?
Mhm.
I just had to do a profit and loss sheet. Um, and you know, so and the same holds true like when I was in nonprofit, when I was in anti-terrorism. Yeah, I ran budgets, but I didn't create the budget. Somebody gave me a bucket of money and I
Yeah.
managed the budget. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and so things like deciding what business structure, uh, even though, yes, during my MBA and in my undergrad, I had accounting classes. I had managerial accounting classes. But that's no different than somebody teaching you how to do basic math. And what I mean is that, like, I can't suddenly become a mathematician because I know how to add and subtract, divide and multiply, right?
Mhm.
Teaching me what a T account is and what a debit and a credit is doesn't make me an accountant. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So it's like you're getting these concepts, but none of that helps you be a business owner,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's more
Yeah.
like theories of business. And that's why I'm
Mhm.
always like kind of like trashing my MBA.
I know you are. And I'm always like, "Wow, Tony has an MBA. I mean, that's impressive." I don't have an MBA. So,
you know, but you know, it's like you know, it's kind of like it's to me it's no different than when I was designing because like my entree into the creative world was designing a web-based application interfaces, right?
yeah.
And to me, my MBA is no different than what I had to do because I was, and you probably experienced this too, but I was always the lone female in like web design, right?
Mhm.
And
I
so
did
you had,
web design too, yeah.
yeah, you know, and I'm the lone female, and because all the backend developers are male, right? And so I
Mhm.
got really tired of them talking down to me and talking over my head and patronizing me. So I went out and I took the classes. I learned .NET. I learned Cold Fusion. I even learned C plus and Python. Like I learned this shit. I
Damn.
I never coded a single fucking thing, but I could read their code, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I could understand what they were doing now, and I could be like, "No, you fuck up.
I'm sure
I
they
know
love
what
that.
you did there, you dumbass," you
Yeah.
know? But, and so, like, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, you know, with my MBA, I feel like, yeah, I kind of have these, like, this broader, like, I understand at the theoretical level what they're talking about, but, like, in practicality, I've had to learn everything in the moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, the MBA doesn't help me with that. It just gives me kind of like a toddler's understanding of all the concepts, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
only but, you know, I will say that semester of business law I took, that was gold.
Oh, good. Well, see, so you did get something useful
Yeah.
out of it.
Mhm.
I mean, you still probably have a lot more knowledge and experience than I do with a lot of abstract concepts that, I don't understand. I mean, like, median, like, even that, like, you probably took statistics and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
am like your stereotypical like artist, like where I was like, I don't. I kind of was like, math is hard. I mean, math to me was boring.
Uh,
Science was boring, but I liked English and I liked history and I
mhm.
liked art. And that was just the things that I gravitated towards. And so I was like, oh, math. No, nothing to do with math. But the thing is, like, so even if you're like, ooh, math is boring and math is hard, guess what? If you're a business owner, you got to understand some math. You
Yeah.
got to be able to at least understand what you need to input into your calculator on your computer to, do things like calculate profit and loss if you're selling products,
Right.
and if you don't know how to put that in there, then, and what to calculate. Yes, of course the calculator will do it for you, but if you don't understand the big concept of like, okay, I have a product I'm going to sell, how do I calculate like labor plus materials plus shipping plus packaging,
Right.
and that's a business type concept, and it's math related too.
Right.
And you can make a big mess if you don't know what you're doing.
No, it's totally true. Like I recently did a time study, or not, a time study, because I also needed to know how many hours I was putting into what I was doing. But I was trying to see if it was viable for me to sell these journals that I'm making. Because one, I'm a snob. And so like how the paper feels, and I use fountain pens exclusively in my journals. So like I've used Moleskine for years. But it drives me nuts because the fountain pen bleeds. It's really like the paper is really not designed for fountain pens. Ballpoint pens, pencils, whatever, but it's really not designed for pounds. So it bleeds through. Same issue. I use karst stone paper, Lecturnum. I mean, like I have gone through the marketplace for journals that don't piss me off when I write, because then I don't want to waste paper, but I have, ghosting on the backside.
Oh yeah, that's not
paper,
good.
Right. And so finally found paper designed for, or I shouldn't say designed for, but that can accept a fountain pen without bleeding through, but it's expensive. And I've gotten into, I'm like upcycling saris and men's
that's cool.
dress shirts, and I'm turning them into these journals. And I'm doing acid free and archival and like all the things,
So your journals are going to be like $1,000, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Right.
Because I'm like, one, do I even want to sell them? Two, is it viable to sell them? Right. And so I had to sit down. I mean, I had to figure out in a spool of thread, I'm using however long, right? You measure it based on the number of signatures you're binding, but like, okay, so that came, like I had to measure it after I did that, unspooling or whatever. So like, okay, this spool of thread costs this, and I can get this number of books out of a spool of thread, until I got down to, this is my absolute cost to create this book. Right. And so now, is it viable? I know so many entrepreneurs getting even out of the art space. I know so many entrepreneurs that cannot tell you what it costs them to create their product. And I'm like, how are you selling your product? How do you even
but
know?
I mean, I can kind of say the same thing, that not now, but like when I first started selling my magnets, I was one of those people too, though. Because there's all these things where it's like, okay, well, I'm ordering it wholesale, but it's always hard to calculate the time that you put into creating the design. And then it's like, okay, but I'm repeating I'm not mass producing, but I mean, I'm producing more than one, but my packaging was one of the things, because I ship them myself. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got bubble wrap. Okay, do I count my printer ink? Do I count, like, how do I measure that? Because I also use that printer for printing tax stuff, or, you know what I mean? Like, so it is really hard sometimes to nickel and dime down to like little bits and pieces of like, okay, well, if I'm going to drop these off at the post office, well, am I supposed to calculate that gas too? Like, it's hard. It is hard to do.
Yeah, it is hard to do. And I would say, no, you're not going to put your gas into it. But to your point, I have a commercial printer that I only use for these things. So like if I do a journal and it's got a dot grid, I've printed the dot grid, right?
Okay.
If it's got, lines, I printed the lines. And so on average, the manufacturer will tell you, if you're using our OEM ink, you can expect, kind of like this amount on average,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then depending on what that is, you can decide if you're going to put that into your calculations or not. I find that for the most part, the ink is negligible, right?
Okay.
But it totally depends, right?
Yeah.
Like if I were printing a book, that's a whole different thing. But a dot grid is really not costing me a lot of ink.
Mhm.
But if I were doing my own G-Clay prints, 100%, I need to factor in the ink.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of ink getting onto that paper or canvas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, I've got some local artist friends here that, they're trying to get started with G-Clay prints. And I was like, look, we can figure out a way for you to use my printer where you're paying for the ink and you're paying for the paper.
Mhm.
And it will be cheaper because we live in the same town and we know each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
than if you order them from, Gelato or whatever,
Right.
because they're selling them at local markets. They're not trying to do print on demand. So
Right.
we're working that out where basically I'm going to be the printer for them,
Mhm.
but like these are the costs that people need to understand. And, we just dropped the episode about the surface design industry survey.
Oh, yeah.
And so listeners, that came out February 4th, but this episode that you will be listening to is not going to come out until roughly July.
Yeah.
So
We front load. We're smart.
Yeah, but the thing that struck me as we were going through it, because I hadn't even formed the thought when I was reading the survey, was Shannon reported that average expenses were $2,400,
Mhm.
right? And that's an annual cost. But I wish we could do a poll, and maybe I can figure that out by the time because I think you can do it on Instagram. Maybe I can figure that out by the time this episode actually drops. To the effect of how many images do you need to license, or patterns do you need to license, or art prints do you need to sell, anything in that category
Mhm.
to cover your expenses per year? How many people can answer that?
Well, and I have to add a caveat to that. You know how the service design industry survey said people's expenses, their supplies were $2,400, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, mine were closer to $10,000. So I don't want to insult anybody who answered the surface design industry survey. I was also one of those people, but I wonder if people are remembering to take everything into account, because that number sounds way low to me. Because
This goes
Adobe, if you count Adobe, computer hardware, computer software, if you're a fine artist, you've got all your art supplies, ink,
Mhm.
I mean, plus, hello, business, office in your house, electricity, insurance,
Yep.
all that stuff, copywriting your art. There's so many things. And I'm not trying to say that people who filled out the survey didn't take all that into account, but I have to force myself to take that stuff into account,
Right.
and I only do because I itemize every single thing in my taxes.
Right. And to your point, Shannon reported an average, not a
Right.
median.
Right.
And so that means the people who maybe aren't understanding everything that represents an expense in their business are dragging that down.
Yeah.
Right. But also and this is why I think the fact that she has begun including medians is so important, because her averages include people who have just started in the industry,
Right.
along with people like you and I who have been in the industry for a very long time, which is a very different thing. You were at 10K. I was at a little over 4, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm part-time, but basically that tracks, right? You're
Mhm.
full-time, I'm part-time. I had roughly half your expenses. But a lot of that also, because like you and I have been filing business taxes a lot longer than some of the people who are just starting out.
Right.
And I'm going to give a free plug to Hannah Cole. If you have not found Hannah Cole, we've now had her on the show twice.
Yeah.
She's been a sponsor. You need to hook up with Hannah Cole.
Yeah, she is the tax and money genius,
Exactly.
especially for artists.
She is an artist, so she knows what we do. She knows who we are, but
Yeah.
she helps you understand what you need to be tracking, because I think one of the biggest flaws, well, I think there are two big flaws. One is we don't teach artists in school how to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
And we don't teach them how to manage projects. But that's a personal pet peeve. So,
well, not
anyway.
everybody has a PMP degree.
Well, I mean, granted, but I went 30 years, 96, it's 30 years now. I went 28 years without those letters behind my name.
Yeah.
I did. I went 28 years successfully managing projects.
It's just your personality. Sometimes I think a lot of this is just innate to us. Like when I was a kid, I would project manage like things in my life. When we were moving, we moved a lot actually. We moved a few times and we traveled a lot, but I remember when we were moving and I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to put in. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and you have a crate that you can, I don't know if they still do it this way, but you would basically have your urgent need things shipped quickly, and then the rest would go by boat months later. This is probably so foreign to people listening. For many reasons, they probably haven't done that in 30 years. But anyway, but I mean, a lot of it's big stuff. Right. So you're probably not going to want to put that you can't put that on a plane anyway, like a piano. Come on. Right. I remember I had a list. I had diagrams of where everything was going to go in my room and like what was urgent and what was like a triage thing and I was project managing that when I was like 11. So right. I think you and I probably also just innately have that kind of personality. But if you don't innately have that kind of personality and nobody teaches you that, and then you become an artist that's a solo business owner, it's hard because no one teaches you the fact that you're a business and you have to think like a business person. You have to think about things like bottom line and, all the things that come with that.
Right. Right. No, you're 100% right. I mean, I have definitely always been an organized person. One of the reasons that I started teaching project management to creatives is because I see so many independent artists losing out on public art projects because they don't know how to manage the project. And in not knowing how to manage the project, that impacts how they write their grant and things like that. Or, being able to demonstrate that they have those skills. In fact, when Anna Bianchi and I got to have dinner not too long ago when I was in the Bay Area, that's one of the things we were talking about, like, how hard it is for independent artists to get those bigger projects because of not having that strong foundation of project management. Yeah. So, but in part of that, that mindset also is business management too, right? They're kind of like hand in hand. They're the same. They're using the same part of your brain, and the thing, there are ways, like if you get big enough, you can get a business manager, you can get an accountant, you can do all the things so that you can just be, an artist.
Right.
But you always are the final stop. Right.
Well, and also you've got to make a lot of money to pay those people. And if you're not able to think like that and get yourself things like grants or whatever, you may not make that kind of money. It's like a vicious cycle or whatever, or catch-22, because it's like, okay, well, if you want to hire a business manager, you have to make enough money to hire a business manager, but you can't make enough money if you don't know how to manage your business.
Right. No, so yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And like, I think, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing that we do a disservice, right? And obviously I've watched as Leverage Your Art has evolved more into like that business management course, right?
Yeah.
I haven't personally taken it since that's what it became. But even when I took when we took Leverage, she was still, I would say 85% at that point, like how to run an art business versus she had a few like design modules in there that I think are completely gone now. But that makes her unique out there.
That's why I really still credit leverage with a lot of the knowledge that I gained.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Me too. You know, the other bit of it all is, you know, like, does my MBA help me? I would say marginally. Marginally, it helps me, you know, but not much more. You know, than somebody who learns just, you know, basic business principles. You don't need an MBA to be a solid business person.
You know what a widget is, though, right? Do they still teach that?
Of course. That was all of my undergrad, man. If I had to hear the fucking word widget one more time.
I've known so many people that have gotten MBAs and that they're always like, oh, don't tell me about widgets.
Talk to me
because
about
it's like that's the
widget.
magic product. If for people who don't know, it's like this is my understanding of it as a non-MBA person. That's the magic product that has a huge demand and no supply. And you are going to be the one that magically discovers this product and creates it and becomes a billionaire or whatever. And it's like, how often does that happen?
Well, yes, that is true. But it's also, it's the generic product. It's the every product. It's a widget.
Right.
You know, and it's like, now, fortunately, my MBA, we did a lot of case studies.
Good.
Yeah. So like, I did case studies on the coffee industry. I did case study on Walmart. I did a case study on, well, you know what?
Did you cry?
Sam Walton, was a true, honest to God innovator. And he is the reason, quite frankly, I have a career in tech today, because if he had not innovated enterprise level management, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. Huh. That is very different from the Walmart Corporation that exists today. Yeah. And we're just going to let that one sit there. But like Sam Walton, like the originator, the guy who like tried to go into the McCrory and sell his idea and they told him, no, fuck off. Like he was really fascinating. But my favorite was the coffee industry. Like, and like, let's just say Starbucks doesn't make the top 10 in anything. We're just going to leave that there too. Ooh. But the top three that jockey for position all the time are McDonald's, 7-Eleven, and Dunkin' Donuts, if we're talking quality of bean. And they just kind of rotate around the top there. So that's your, you know, free information on good coffee. So,
okay. And those are cheaper than Starbucks.
Yeah, but don't get McCafe. They don't clean the machines. Just get their brewed coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and their brewed coffee is Kona, by the way, also. So, yeah. But where my frustration comes in is the undercharging. Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of the undercharging comes in from not understanding your expenses and what you need to make. Yeah. Right. And so we undercharge. Right. Like I just did a contract today for a custom illustration. And when I said my price, the eyes went big. And I was just like, well, sorry, that's what I charge. Then I was like, well, okay, I guess we'll see if I get the contract signed back, you know, but I'm like, that's what I charge because I have worked out, like, I know what my expenses are. Mm-hmm. And so if I do a custom illustration, it needs to be this, right? Because it generally takes me this amount of time. Mm-hmm. And it generally takes me, and this is the software that I'm using. And this is, so that includes an Adobe Photoshop subscription. Mm-hmm. And therefore my costs, in order for me to create that custom illustration, even though I already own the iPad, even though I already have Procreate, even though I already subscribe, there are costs associated with that illustration. And
right. Because you couldn't do that illustration if you didn't have those things.
Exactly. And my time.
Right.
Is valuable.
That's the one that gets everybody.
Right.
Our time is such an abstract concept. And as designers and artists, our time is just always considered valueless. Right. And which is why we end up becoming or, being told or made to feel that we're valueless or feeling valueless, because it's like, just licensing on its own, like not custom illustrations, like freelance work where you can say, I spent this amount of time doing this thing and you're going to pay me for this. But like, art licensing, it's like you've already created the art, and it's really hard to, for people to think about, well, how long did I spend on that? Like, am I going to get paid for that time? Sometimes you could spend 3 months creating a pattern collection or even one pattern. And
Right.
it's like, okay, but like, how are you going to charge for that? I mean, that's,
Right.
it's very hard to quantify. And it's also very hard to build up the confidence to ask for that. That's the other,
Right.
there's the psychological part of it too.
So we're going to do a little experiment really quickly. I happen to know for a fact because I did a little presentation about the time involved in creating a pattern collection, right?
Okay.
And so, Procreate tracks how long you spend creating the motifs or creating whatever you're doing. And then because I was all up in a rage about like nobody values surface design, I was like, I'm going to show what the time. So for my Pop and Poppies pattern,
Yeah.
I know that
I love that one, by the way.
Thank you very much. I know that there was 17 hours put into creating the hero pattern, right?
Mhm.
7 of those hours were spent in Procreate drawing motifs, and the remaining 10 hours were laying it out and getting it right. And I know I can be a little OCD about that. So I've got 17 hours just in the pattern. Let's go with the Kansas minimum wage,
Okay.
which is $7.25. At a minimum, in order to get just my time value out of that pattern, I need to sell it for at least $123.25.
Okay.
Right? License it. If I wanted to actually do a living wage on that, 17 times 15, we're now at $255. That doesn't even include the other costs. So at a minimum, for me to license that, I should be charging no less than $300. My question is, how many people are doing that calculation just to figure out what they should charge?
Now, Toni, how did you do that in Procreate? Because I didn't know that I could even do that. Do you go to like your settings or something on like the file?
If you go, let me grab my iPad, 2 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, because I never, you said that and I'm like, wait, I can do that. I don't know if I want to know. But
yeah, totally.
My iPad isn't here, it's downstairs. I purposely keep it separate from my office so that my downstairs time is fun drawing time.
Yeah, no, I totally
But
get
yeah,
that.
I didn't know you could do that. I also have another question for you, and before we finish this episode is before I forget, I know you told me that in Kansas you have to every year when you renew your business license file like a business plan or something like that. We don't have to do that here in Georgia. I literally just signed up the first time and was like, I'm a business. Here's my LLC or whatever. Or I didn't even have an LLC or whatever. I just said what I did. And then when I renew it, I just give them money. That's it. That's all I have to do. I would love to know what you do and how you do that, because I imagine that Kansas is not the only state that does that. And
Okay, so 2 things. First, let me answer the Procreate question. So when you come into Procreate, you go into your wrench menu, you go to Canvas, and you go to Canvas information. And then once you're there, you go to statistics. And the third element, if you can see it, is total elapsed time. And
that's kind of like the same little engine that does that time-lapse video for you. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So this one says 2 minutes just because it was just something I imported. But and so that's how I know how long I spent drawing those motifs.
That's amazing. I didn't even know you could do that. And that is such a great way to account for your time.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
How long? Yeah. And that's why I say time studies are so important. To your other question. So what we are required to file, and they just recently switched it to every other year. It's called an annual report. Basically, you're reporting on your financials. So you are reporting your revenue, your expenses, like all of the things. It's not quite a balance sheet, but it's like a statement of income. And I pay for that now every 2 years, but I have to file it this year. So
but you have to basically you have to renew, in order to renew your business license, you have to show that though.
So to be clear, I don't have a business license. I don't need one in Kansas. But
your LLC.
For my LLC to remain in good standing, I have to file the annual report.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a total side question.
Yeah,
When
go
you
ahead.
go to renew, this is totally off topic, but it's kind of related. When you go to renew your driver's license, do you have to like go do more tests or like go prove that you can, or can you just give them money and renew it and that's it?
Um, the reason that I'm hesitating is because generally speaking, I just give them money and keep on going.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
the long hesitation, though, was because of my partial blindness. So,
Oh, okay.
depending on where I'm falling at any point in time, sometimes they give me vision tests. But
Okay, but in Kansas in general, the reason I asked is because in Georgia, I have a theory that everyone here is a terrible driver here in Atlanta, myself probably included. Because, when you first get your driver's license when you're 16, you
uh,
don't ever have to do any test of any kind ever again for the rest of your life, as long as you don't let it expire or get like, a DUI or something like that.
oh, yeah, no, they never
And
retest you on
Georgia's the
your
same way
knowledge
with
at
business
all.
licenses. If you do your LLC, if you do your LLC and you just keep giving the money every year, as long as you don't have like a lawsuit or you don't like let it expire, you can just keep on trucking forever. And you don't
Yeah.
have to prove anything or show, what you're doing with your business, nothing.
Oh, that's
Ah,
interesting. Yeah. No, we do. I mean, I don't know what they do with that information other than just keep it on file. But yeah, no, we do have to. It's basically like an income statement that you're filing
okay.
in order to maintain your LLC in good standing. So,
So that right there is, I can't imagine Kansas is the only state that does that. So, that right there is the perfect example of if you're an artist and you're a creative, but you want to be solo, you do have to kind of know something about,
yeah,
how to do like a
yeah,
business plan and submit it to the government to keep your business afloat, even as a solo LLC.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And I
yeah.
think that's why we need more we need more information and understanding. And I love the fact that so many people in our industry are here because they're passionate about it
Hmm.
and they love what they're doing, but like you also need like the geeks like me and like where it's like, then there's this other stuff that, yeah, I mean like I geek out on it, not in the sense of like I love it, but like I think because I'm so like I am very, very meticulous about things. And, early in the days of my LC, I got that scare. And I think I've shared this story before where I literally got a tax warrant. And that's some scary ass shit.
Yeah, I don't think
And
you have. What is
I
a
think
tax warrant? That sounds
so
terrifying.
it was terrifying. And so basically what happened was I set up my LLC and I applied for a sales tax license because I
Mhm,
had these big dreams of print on demand and all this other stuff and like, selling products and I was going to do markets and I was going to do all this stuff. Right.
mhm.
And then, quickly realized that it involved so much more than I was willing to put the effort into at that time. So I never sold anything in that tax year.
Yeah,
0. Right?
yeah,
No physical products, let me put it like that, because when you're doing services and digital like design services, like you don't have sales tax. But I
yeah, it's
sold
not
no
the same.
right, I sold no physical products. So I'm thinking no sales, no worries, and I kept on going,
Mhm.
right? I did not take the time to understand that Kansas has a requirement that even if you make 0 sales, if you have a sales tax license, you have to file a sales tax return.
Oh,
And you file, and it's literally a checkbox and a submit button. Okay.
yeah.
But I did not know this.
Well, they should have
And
told you.
well,
Side
it,
note.
this is where they'll tell you ignorance is not a defense under the law.
I know, I know.
Right. And I was operating in Virginia before that. And everything I had done for 30 years was graphic design. So
Mhm,
selling products was just not part of my experience. And again, my MBA trained me to run somebody else's business unit, not be an entrepreneur.
mhm.
So I get this letter that basically says we have sworn out a tax warrant
Oh my God, like
And
someone's gonna come to your house and arrest you.
yes, like I literally was like, is the sheriff coming next? Like, what in the ever loving fuck? And so I immediately called the Department of Revenue for Kansas and was like freaking out. And she was very polite and she very calmly explained to me, you know, what I had done wrong, what I needed to do. And I was going to have to go to the courthouse and file some papers. And she was going to rescind the warrant as soon as I could provide like the information showing I filed the papers. So for making $0, I spent almost 50 to go file papers at the courthouse, when if I just clicked the fucking button on a website, I would have been in the clear.
Yeah.
So from that moment forward, I became uber meticulous about everything.
Yeah. Oh
You
my
know?
God, I can imagine. I mean, that's a terrifying sounding thing. And it's you know, I had a similar situation where I was like, I thought I was gonna do markets. I thought I was gonna have all this stuff for sale locally or whatever. And I did like, you know, the whole, okay, I'm gonna sign up for the sales tax license, but I made 0 sales. And I did at the end of the year, the state of Georgia sent me like an email that was like, click this link. And, you know, of course then I had to research, make sure that wasn't spam, but, and like, you know, just let us know how much you made, or if you didn't make anything, you still have to put $0, put in your tax ID and then hit submit. But they sent me an alert. And so I did. And I think actually I had done a tiny bit of wholesale. So I think I made like $12 a year, something ridiculous. So I think I put in like $12, and then I got a letter in the mail that just said, okay, well, you're under the required amount that, you know, we're not going to worry about. It's negligible basically. But you're in the clear. But they sent me a notification, which is surprising. I can't believe they didn't do that for you.
Kansas will send you nothing. Nothing.
Well, and I'm surprised Georgia did, because they do a lot of other things wrong.
I hear you. But in the state of Kansas, you get reminded about nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like I have multiple reminders in my calendar to make sure, and then I have reminders of the reminders. It's like, did you file your tax return?
Yeah. Right. I know. Well, you can't be too careful. You definitely don't want to mess that up. You don't want to go to jail because you made $0.
Exactly. You know, I'm like, honestly, legitimately, I'm thinking about like, how can I like rescind that, like get rid of it altogether, because I don't sell physical products. But
well, can't you? Because Georgia, you can. So I when I did my, like the following year when I renewed my business license, because my business license, or my LLC, sorry, I happened to register that in January. So when I went to do that, it had a checkbox that said, are you going to be selling physical products? Yes or no. And I checked no. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's it. I'm done. It said, okay, you are now, if you want to make sales and have sales tax, you will have to reapply. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not planning on it. So yeah, I wonder if there's a way you can't. Oh my God.
It's not that easy. I'm sure there's a way I could call the Department of Revenue and be like, I don't do it anymore. Please cancel that. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it might be worth doing.
I just haven't gotten around to it. And like, I'm selling my novels. Like I have an event tomorrow night. And then I have another offer where I'm physically selling like author signed copies of my novels.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's like a book signing.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So thank you. But yeah, I have to. So I know I'll have to report sales tax on that. But you know, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that is sales tax. Well, being a business, being an artist also means being an entrepreneur, unless you work for somebody else. And I know that's not fun, but you know, it is what it is, and you have to at least keep that in mind. The Surface Design Industry Survey was such a good reminder of that.
Yes. We probably should get into advice.
Yes.
What's your advice?
You know, my overarching advice for this would be, don't be afraid to think about money. So a lot of people, I think, are afraid to think about money. They're afraid to talk about money. They're afraid to quantify their skills and their talents with dollars. And the thing is that it's okay to be able, want to, and to be able to pay your bills. And in order to make money and to be able to think about, you know, to like comprehend money and have that be part of it, you have to think about yourself as a business. And my thing is, I'm not going to be Amazon. I'm not going to be like, the bottom line is the only thing I care about. And I'm going to step on people and to get there and blah, blah, blah. I'm not that kind of a person. And my business doesn't run like that. But that doesn't mean that my business is on the opposite end of that spectrum where I'm like, I'm just going to make art. And then if somebody wants to give me some money for it, that's cool. And I don't care. And money is unimportant because you know what? Money is important to me.
Mhm.
I want to be able to pay my bills. And in order to pay my bills and to be able to make money, which I deserve for my hard work, I have to think about myself as a business, not just a creative or an artist. So just don't be afraid to think about money. It's okay. It's not, the M word is not a bad word.
Exactly. I completely agree with everything you said. I think not only is your time valuable, but you are spending money, right? If you bought that iPad, you have spent money.
Yeah.
If you bought Procreate, you have spent money. If you are subscribing to Adobe, you have spent money. And you are allowed to make that money back.
Yeah.
Right. And it goes into the same discussion that we'll get into with Shannon McNabb. I'm not sure where this episode falls in relation to Shannon's episode, but, about pricing, like just Adobe Creative Suite. I don't remember exactly what the dollars come out to, but it's somewhere around like $700 a year if you haven't managed to like negotiate them down in some way, shape, or form, right? To have the Creative Suite, you're paying roughly $700 a year.
Even if you do negotiate Adobe down or you have a student or teacher discount, it's still going to be at least $200 to $300 a year minimum.
Right. And so the thing that I want you to think about when you think about that, right? These are the factors you need to take into account when you are determining what you're going to charge for your work.
Yes.
Right? So let's go with my $700 figure. You can license 2 patterns at $350 each.
Right.
Or now, how many do you have to, like, if let's say I'm going to do $100. Well, now you have to license like 7, right?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
You've like tripled your workload, tripled how
Right.
much you have to sell, tripled how much you have to pitch. You've tripled everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When all you have to do is charge what you're worth.
Right. I know. That's
Right?
the best advice of all that anyone could ever give is charge what you're worth. That was like our second episode.
Yes.
It was
Charge
like
what you're
people
worth.
who don't want to think we charge too much. People who think we charge too much.
Exactly.
It's like the reason people think we charge too much is because for too many years, clients have been trained by people who undercut themselves and us that we're not worth paying. And it's like,
Right.
well, you did it to yourself. We are doing it to ourselves. Stop doing
Exactly. Exactly. And my last tiny little piece of information, somewhere in your town, somebody is offering like business financial literacy, entrepreneurship. Somewhere there is a class
Like
out
Score.
there. Yeah, like Score, though I don't think they do like formal classes, but like your local small business administration, somebody has a class in the basic financials of business.
And it's probably free.
Yeah, and it's probably free. What it means to be an entrepreneur in your state, right? Like find those classes, take them. It will help build a solid foundation for you to go out there and then do what you love.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. I agree wholeheartedly.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. If you're loving this podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, we'd love it if you could rate and review us. Your support helps more people discover the show and it keeps us going strong. Thanks for tuning in. It means a lot. I'm Toni.
And I'm Carrie. It's okay to be cranky.
In the meantime, keep creating.
Two Cranky Creatives is produced by me, Toni Federico, and my co-host, Carrie Cantwell.
Carrie handles sound editing, I wrangle marketing and communications, and together we keep this cranky train on the tracks. Thanks for listening.